we'll get going. So as I said, it's being recorded. Please try and keep on mute if you can. If you've got questions and things, obviously, if you could, raise your hand or something, and then come off mute to speak, to ask the question. Or alternatively, you can put questions in the chat. And if there's anything you want to sort of privately ask us, then you can always email us afterwards. So I'm going to do a quick intro to YCE because I don't know how many people here are actually familiar with YCE, or if you've just gone, oh, what's that? I'll come along and find out. But just for anyone who doesn't know, so we've been going since 2015. We are an independent volunteer-run organisation. And the goal of YCE is to reduce emissions to tackle climate change. And obviously, the clue's in the name that we're focusing on emissions from energy. So there's two main ways that we're doing this. One is from community-owned renewable energy, and one is by helping people save energy through insulating the home so they don't have to heat them so much. We'll go into more of those things later, but just a quick rundown of events that we've been to recently. So as Rich mentioned before, we were at Spark yesterday, I believe it was, doing an energy advice stall in conjunction with the council. So we got Alison there, who's from YCE and the council. And so they're doing their HUG home upgrade grant scheme and trying to help people on low incomes upgrade their house so it's more energy efficient. And we were giving out some energy advice as well. And then we've been at the One Planet York stall as well in the food festival, which is also going on this week. Yeah, talking to people as part of that. This very happy picture down here is myself and Ivana and Johnny, very happy to have passed our qualification that we got, level 3 qualification in energy awareness, which means that we are qualified to do our energy advice service, which we'll be talking more about later. And then we were at the Fulford show as well. We had a stall there, having conversations about how people can improve their homes and things. And, yeah, talking about Solar for Schools, which again we'll get onto in a minute. And then lurking in the background here, Rich also did a talk at the Festival of Ideas about what's called Electric Dreams. It's a sort of history of the national grid and where we could be going with it in future. So there's been lots of things going on. You might have seen us at one or two. We're hoping to do more things like that in the future as well. And of course, the other thing that we've been up to is becoming a community benefit society, or a CBS. So it's you may have seen some updates about this over the weeks and months, but we finally got there. It's been a bit of an arduous journey, but we finally got our community benefit society registered, which is great. And what's going to happen now is we are going to wind down the old York Community Energy, which is just kind of an unincorporated organisation. And yeah, from the outside, it's going to look very similar. It's the same people, same YCE, but yeah, just a different legal entity really. So the old committee members become the board of directors, so it's the same people on the board. And we are going to transfer all the existing members over to the new CBS as well. So if you're a member of the old YCE, you'll be a member of the new YCE. But because we're technically two separate legal entities, we're going to have to ask you for permission to share your data with ourselves. So yeah, you'll be getting an email about that. All this legal box ticking and things. So one of the nice things is that if you remember, then you'll actually own a share in YCE. That's how the CBS membership structure works. And of course, the other great thing is that we've started taking on staff. So we've got part-time staff now as well to do the the energy advice service. But again, I'll try not to spoil too much for future slides. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Rich now, and he's going to talk to us about Solar for Schools. Over to you.
Thank you, Tom. So the first area that we work in, as Tom said, is in trying to create community-owned renewables, and this is something we've been trying to do for 5 years now. And over that time, it's got progressively harder and harder to create community renewable energy schemes. But one thing that we think is still viable is rooftop solar, and there are schemes being done across the country. And one of the ways that we think it's achievable is on school roofs, and we're partnering with an organisation called Solar for Schools, and they are also a community benefit society like us. They're a social enterprise. They're not a kind of a just trying to turn the handle and get installations done, profit-making company. They are very much the experts in schools. They have a big educational program that goes alongside solar panels as well. So we sort of ummed and ahed about this and sort of thought, well, we want to generate community energy. We're not, we don't just want to be sort of acting as agents for them. So we signed an agreement that said that they would support the schools in transferring the arrays into community ownership after they've been built, provided the schools are happy with that, of course. So on that basis, we signed up, and we're partners now with Solar for Schools, and it's been really interesting. We've learned a hell of a lot from them, and we have in June we're always in touch with the council. Obviously, we've got a lot of support from the council there's the decarbonisation team now they have. So we work quite closely with them, and in June they said that they would sort of officially support us, and they've actually endorsed us to the schools that they have control for. Obviously, a lot of schools now are academies, and they're outside of the control of the local authority. So may I have the next slide, please? Yep, so a little bit about how they work then. They have a sort of a central model of raising capital. So rather than going for community shareholding in the area around the school, they actually raise capital at sort of large scale through ethical investment platforms, and they do these kind of bond issues every so often. But that means that they can raise the capital for the installations of the solar panels. The school doesn't have to pay anything, although there's a couple of provisos on that. Sometimes, if it's a very marginal project, there might have to be a capital cost that needs to be paid, or sometimes the schools actually want to pay. Sometimes the schools have a budget, and I think this is decreasingly the case, but sometimes schools want to own the panels themselves and want to have a stake in them, so that's fair enough. But by and large, what we aim for is no capital cost to the school. Solar for Schools has contractors that they work with. They can take care of the installation themselves. They then sell the electricity from the solar panels to the school for a period of 25 years, discounted from the grid price that they have been paying and tied to inflation. So that's a really good way of avoiding the kind of energy price spikes that we're seeing now. Is you know that a certain proportion of your energy needs will be tied to inflation and will not be shooting up if energy prices go up. And they also provide an educational program as well that teaches about renewables and carbon reduction and climate change and so on, using the panels as a resource. So so we think it's great. The school becomes a member of the CBS. So like, as Tom said, with your community energy, our members have a share in us. With Solar for Schools, the schools are the members. They have a share in the social enterprise. They also get a profit share back to the schools. And then, as I said before, the array then can be transferred into community ownership if the school supports that idea, which means that it's something that it can be, it can be transferred to the ownership of YCE, and we can actually we could potentially build up a sort of a portfolio that way. May I have the next slide, please? Thank you. So yeah, a bit about the sort of scales there. So Solar for Schools, as I say, they're quite expert in this. They've worked on 67 projects up and down the UK. They are the most recent installations in Leeds, Hollybush Primary School. And if you're interested in more on this project, then we have a whole meeting dedicated to it. This is where we will be sort of answering people's questions about it and presenting the whole thing as a proposal aimed at school pupils, school students, teachers and admin staff. That's on this Saturday at 1:30. It's another online event. I will put the link for that in the chat in just a moment. So yes, if you'd like to know more, sign up to that. But you can see there that some of the stats for Solihull Schools, they are also affiliated with other organisations worldwide. So they have reached over 91,000 students. And in York, we've had leads so far from 11 schools. We've had responses from 8. So most of the difficulty is in trying to get responses and trying to get the schools to kind of to get you the information you need. They're obviously very busy, especially at the moment with the coronavirus situation. So we have to be very patient and understanding and not nag them too much, but just the right amount of nagging. And we've so far got two firm offers made to schools that says, yes, you can get panels. This is how much you could get. This is how much the energy would cost, and so on. And one of that is now awaiting final sign off on a legal basis. So that's the situation. It's very exciting. With I've done a site visit to one school, and we've lots of discussions about it. Lots of enthusiasm as well from students we've spoken to and other teachers. So yeah, watch this space for announcements on this. And sorry about that. And as I say, please, if you're interested, sign up to the event on Saturday. I'll put the link in the chat. Back to you, Tom.
Lovely, thanks for that. Now, were there any questions about that before we move on? No, we all good? Oh, yeah, we've got a question from Andy. You want to bring yourself off mute?
You can put it in the chat if you prefer. The meeting is being recorded, so if you don't want to come on mic, you can put it in the chat.
Your browser isn't letting you talk.
Well, we've all been there. Can you type it then, Andy? Or are you fighting with your permission settings? Have we right? So have we approached Hope St. Amu Learning Academy? We have had so that's an academy trust, I believe. They have a couple of schools in York. And we have been in touch with one of the schools, and that's one of the 8. So, but yeah, I don't want to go through and name all the schools we've been in touch with. But if you have any contacts at any of these schools, please do pass them on to us. I mean, we're very keen to speak to anyone who might be able to help us get in touch with teachers and with admin staff and try and agitate for more solar panels on school roofs in York. So Andy, I will send you my email address, or you can just email schools@yorkcommunityenergy.org.uk. Any sort of information you'd like to pass on, anyone you can put in touch with us. Absolutely brilliant. That's the whole point of this being a community exercise, is that we have this kind of, we have lots of connections. I mean, a lot of these leads we had on 11 schools came from our membership and came from those kind of community networks that we're part of. So yes, that's great. Thanks, Andy. I look forward to hearing from you. We have another question. Peter Gay says, what happens after the 25 years? Well, to be frank, I don't think no one's actually got there yet, but there's a couple of options. You can either just roll over the contract, carry on, so you'd say, okay, well, the system's working fine, we can just carry on. You might have to repower the system, you might have to replace equipment, or you might at that point try and sell it to the school or to another organization. But I think generally they're hoping that they will just roll on the contract. So the 25 years is the period for which you guarantee that the price won't rise above inflation. At the end of that, then you can, yeah, as I say, the aspiration is that they'll roll it on. I hope that's a good enough answer.
Excellent. Right then, well, we will move on in that case if there's no more questions. And I will hand over to Ivana, who's going to talk about York energy advice.
Hello, so can you hear me all right? I hope. Yep, so this project combines the joys of my life, really. It's so in my day job, I'm the sustainability officer at St. Nick's. the Green Heart of York, and in my spare time, I'm a one of the YC directors, and we got together as two organisations to start something called York Energy Advice. The long-term ambition is to become a one-stop shop of advice on energy issues for anyone in York, regardless of tenure or sort of what kind of house they have. For now, this project is funded through the Energy Industry Voluntary Redress Scheme, Energy Redress, and it is offering free support on energy issues to any York residents who are either on a low income or age 65 years plus, or experiencing a long-term physical or mental health condition or disability. So it's very much sort of looking at helping vulnerable people and I think right now there will probably be increasing demand on that because this coming winter is going to be quite tricky. Don't know if you know that in York, which is seemingly a fairly rich city, but actually there are more than 11,000 households in fuel poverty, and we have no hope of reaching them all. But this is why we're working with other organisations locally. So amongst our partners, our York Gareth Centre, Age UK, City of York Council, Citizens Advice, and we're hoping to recruit plenty more so that we can basically help each other to provide as much advice and support to vulnerable residents as we can. So we actually also offer training and referrals for these frontline organisations, and we have to thank Yorkshire Energy Doctor Kate Irwin, who some of you might have seen at one of our events a couple of years ago, who's been instrumental in sort of helping us get off the ground and is helping us with the training side of things. Can I have the next slide, please? So in terms of what we can actually offer, so it is sort of free personalized energy advice. So on energy issues from switching, which I think at the moment will be quite topical, if rather difficult, to energy efficiency, any kind of issue like that. We're also very pleased that we actually have some funding to provide some simple energy saving measures, be it LED lights. So you can see Tom there incredibly inspecting a halogen light at one home that we visited. There were about 12 of those. So if you think about it, going from 40 watts to something like 6 or 8 watts in LEDs can make a decent saving. So we've got some draft proofing letterbox brushes. I've just ordered some chimney sheep. So we've got a sort of an array of simple energy saving measures that we can offer to some people. And we can offer help and referral for other organizations, help with applying for grants. As I said, we work with different partners. So we know about the council's home upgrade grants and other ways that can help people improve their homes. And we also can offer a small number of free whole house assessments. So that sort of ties in with what we are doing for people who are not in the sort of vulnerable category that can actually sort of do things themselves. So if we can move on to the next slide. So home assessments, just to explain what we're doing on that front, and that's sort of the kind of so-called whole house approach, is where you basically try and look at a home as a system, as which includes its occupants. It's not just the sort of bricks and mortar, so to speak, which is how often sort of improvement schemes, certainly in the past, have often worked, by just looking at the houses themselves, not really taking into account the people using them. So whole house approach is sort of all about sort of looking at the system and trying to make sure that individual measures can go together, that you're not sort of hindering progress later on in time. And it's very much sort of, it's got a bit of a hierarchy to it, in terms of you sort of try and reduce the energy demand in the first place, actually make the building, the walls and floors and roofs, make them as good as you can, fix them up, make sure that they are suitable for retrofit, and then upgrade. Then you improve, make sort of building services more efficient, and then you look at how you can provide the rest of the sort of energy demand using low carbon or renewable energy systems. So that's the idea, that you sort of try and improve the home, and a whole house assessments can basically help you plan the work. So if we can look at the next slide, please. So we can offer two types of assessments for homeowners, and so one is a full house full whole house survey, and that would entail a really in-depth survey of the house and modeling. We're working with, I should have pointed out, Smiley Maria in the previous slide from Retrofit Plus Architecture, who's specializes in retrofitting and is a qualified retrofit coordinator. So it means she can we can survey a house, model it, and then she produces a detailed report with 3 different scenarios. So the graphs you can see on there, that's basically modeling one of the homes that we have visited, and it's sort of what the energy use in the home looks like at the moment on the left-hand side, and then what it would look like if after each stage, so after each scenario. And you can see that in the third, which is sort of the deep retrofit, really completely sort of overhauling the house and making it as good as is possible, you can actually see that some energy would be generated rather than just consumed through solar panels. So it is quite a lot of work goes into producing a report like that. So it does cost somewhere between 400 to 700 pounds, depending on the size and complexity of a house. So it is really aimed at people who are planning some medium to major upgrades to their homes. It is something, and planning to probably stay quite a long time in the house. It's not something you would be doing if you're only planning to stay in a place for 1 year and then sell it on. But it is something that's worth investing in. If you're planning to spend thousands of pounds, then a few £100 could actually help you make sure that your plan will work. Next one, please. We're also developing an option for people who might not have quite as much sort of to invest in their homes and who are looking for sort of smaller upgrades. And we have several of us are training as sort of assessors, and we can sort of go in and sort of survey a home for quite a bit less money, but still sort of come up with some tips and advice on what different steps could help save energy in the home. And next slide, please. So as I said, our ambition sort of long term is for York Energy Advice or York Community Energy to become a one-stop shop for anyone. We are also working, and there's one thing that is very slow progress on developing a database of local contractors, because one thing is we can generate a great plan for someone on sort of the sequence of works they could get done to their home, but then being able to actually pass them on to contractors who will know what to do and actually do the work well, because it's really important to actually install properly. So that's something we're working on to develop as something that we can sort of, and we've got some leads on that front, but it is a bit of a slow progress. And we are talking to the council because they are drafting a retrofit strategy, and our ambition is certainly to be part of it, feed into it, and hopefully, next, please, actually be part of the process of retrofitting 2/3 of York homes that are not well insulated. At the moment, York's carbon emissions, about 1/3 of them come from housing, from the way we power and heat our homes. And it is because more than 2/3 of York homes are not well insulated. So our ambition is certainly to help contribute to reducing carbon and this way. And just next, please, to get a bit of inspiration of what that might look like, what a well-insulated home looks like. Just in case you're not aware, another plug. It's York Open Eco Homes this Saturday, which is an opportunity to basically go and see and talk to people who have been through the process. So we've got 4 homes actually, not just 3, 4 homes that you can visit. Each slightly different. Some have been done DIY, some have had contractors in to do most of the work, internal insulation, external. It's quite a mix. So if you'd like to see what future possibly could look like, then come and see your company homes. And I think I'll leave it there, but happy to take questions.
I think
If there are any.
Yeah, I think we might be all quiet on the question front. Okay, well, in that case, we'll move on. So the next thing that we were going to talk about was the new membership structure. So as I said before, we're transitioning over to becoming a community benefit society. And we thought we would take the opportunity to revise our pricing structure, which was quite generous really to start with. So as it stands at the moment, you can get a lifetime membership for £2. And if you want to donate a bit more and become what's known as a supporter, then you can do that for £10 a year. And for just £25, that will give you 1 year of supporter membership and a t-shirt. And then £10 a year from then onwards. So that's the old structure, which is still technically in effect at the moment. So if you haven't signed up yet, then get in there quickly, because we're going to be moving to the new pricing structure, which is, I mean, we're still not going to try be sort of charge astronomical fees or anything, but it's a little bit more. So the standard membership, which includes a share in the Community Benefit Society, that will be £10 a year. And just an important thing to note is that and this is why I said about getting in while it's cheap, existing members don't have to pay this. So if people have signed up already for a lifetime membership, then we want to honour that. We don't want to go back on our word. So anyone who's currently got a lifetime membership will still have one. That being said, if you are feeling generous and you would like to donate a bit more money, then you are more than welcome as an existing member to upgrade to the new membership and pay £10 a year. We will definitely not stop you from doing that. And then same deal as before with the t-shirts. Again, £25, that will get you a t-shirt and 1 year's membership, and then it's the normal £10 a year. And if anyone is in financial difficulties and not able to afford that, then we'll have a special rate of £5 a year as well. So just let us know and we'll sort something out. The other thing that we'd like to say is that we need more people to get involved as well, and we'd love to have you on board. So currently there's various things that we're looking for. We could do with a finance officer, so another director, basically to help us with the financials of the CBS or bookkeeping and things like that. So if you've got some financial experience, then we'd love to hear from you. In addition to that, we're looking at starting what we call a super supporters group. So if you maybe not quite ready to commit to being a director, but you still want to get more involved, then you could become one of the super supporters. And basically this is it's basically a group of people who want to do stuff. So if you've got ideas, want to do some projects, so for example, even just things like maybe task a team of people to go around the whole of York and find buildings that would be good to have solar panels on, or if you've got, you want to do some research into hydropower or something like that, basically anything you can think of really to do with your community energy, obviously, then that's the place to sort of get an idea down on paper, maybe collaborate with someone, and And the idea is that there's a line of communication to us, the directors, as well, which is two-way. So, you know, we be giving you the latest updates before anyone else, but also if you've got feedback for us, if you want to talk about ideas for projects, or if you think we should be doing something differently, then that's, you know, that's your line of communication. So it is kind of, you know, kind of a privileged thing, but I do want to stress that you're not paying for that privilege. So it's just, you know, this is open to all members. You don't have to pay extra to get special access or anything like that. So it's just basically people who want to be more involved. And in addition to that, we'd love to have people signed up as volunteers that we can call on when needed, mainly to run stalls at events, things like that. It's, you know, pretty infrequent stuff really, and we tell you everything you need in advance to be able to do it. But yeah, if you would like to be a volunteer at some point in the future, then let us know, and we'll put you on our list. And then when various things come up, like the Fulford show and whatnot, then we'll be in touch. So that would be really helpful. So if any of those things sound appealing to you, then you've got the email address there, info@yorkcommunityenergy.org.uk. We would love to hear from you. And yeah, so just see what's next. Oh yeah, so the other thing to mention, lots of events going on since it is York Environment Week at the moment, and we seem to have got ourselves involved in quite a few events there. But yeah, so it's running until Sunday. And as Ivana mentioned before, there's the event tomorrow night about what you need to know before you buy a new home. And as Rich mentioned earlier, on Saturday at 1:30 p.m. there's the Solar Schools event. Yeah, we've done a great job of sort of multiple booking ourselves on that Saturday. It just seems to be a very popular day for events, but there's other things going on as well. So there's the York Open Eco Homes. So if you want to go around and look at the passive houses and things like Ivana mentioned, that's one thing going on. And then also I will be at St Mary's Church in Haxby, where there's an event called Eco Saturday. There's going to be lots of different stalls, lots of people talking and answering questions about things like solar panels, electric cars, growing your own fruit and veg, and all that kind of stuff. There's going to be all kinds of topics based around, you know, eco stuff and climate change. I'll be there talking about York Community Energy and solar for schools and our insulation scheme and all that kind of thing. So if you're in the area, then do come and say hi. That'd be great. So then other things, the confusingly named Fridays for Future youth strike is happening on Saturday. Oh, it's not? No? Rich is saying no.
No, sorry, update on that.
Oh.
So someone registered a demo on the Fridays for Future website for that time, but actually what's happening is that the student strikers in York are going to be joining the strike in Leeds on the Friday.
Right.
So that's
okay. So Saturday's not happening at all.
So Saturday, we don't, as far as I know, there's nothing happening on Saturday, but on Friday, the school strikers are going over to Leeds. There's a demo, I think, at noon in Millennium Square in Leeds.
Right. Well, that is new information for me, so thank you.
Sorry, yes, that came out of the catch up on with Solar for Schools on Tuesday, actually.
Oh right, okay, interesting. Yesterday. Right, well, ignore that in that case.
Sorry about that.
So if you want to go over and join the strikers in Leeds on Friday, then that's an option. Well, at least that gives us one less thing happening on Saturday. And then slightly further afield, all the way to next week. Is that really next week already? So for York Energy Advice, we're going to be down at the St Sampson's Centre in town, and we're going to be doing an energy quiz called Play Your Energy Cards Right. It's going to be, I don't know what it's going to be. It sounds like it's going to be very entertaining. We have a charismatic host lined up, and yes, it's going to be very interesting. But the main purpose behind it is we're going to be talking about energy and helping vulnerable groups. So I think it's mainly going to be targeted at sort of people who are sort of 50 plus. It's part of the York 50 plus festival. And we will have a stall as well. So we'll be giving energy advice, and we'll be talking about how people can do draft proofing at home as well, sort of DIY draft proofing measures and things. And then you may have missed a couple of other energy related events going on during York Environment Week. So Anthony Day, who's a member of YCE, who has a podcast called the Sustainable Futures Report podcast, he did a panel discussion today or yesterday, I can't remember now, I think it was yesterday, about decarbonising York's heating, which is obviously a subject close to our hearts. So he had some expert panelists on. He was talking about things like district heating and insulation. So potentially a very interesting panel discussion there. It's been uploaded to YouTube. But we'll email out a bunch of links at the end. So if you've signed up through Eventbrite, then you'll get an email with all these links in. So we'll put that in as well. But yeah, that's potentially worth watching. And yeah, that's it pretty much. So it's quite short and sweet. But just to say, please do check out the website if you're interested in any of the Solar for Schools stuff, or want to know more about making your home cheaper to heat and making energy saving measures and that kind of thing. To go to the website, let us know any questions by email. Lots of events, like I say, going on. You can see them all at yorkenvironmentweek.org.uk.